Hello, everyone. Welcome to another speed build. We've had a bit of a hiatus, and I apologize. Unfortunately, my cat passed away, and so I have not been doing very well. But I am back with an idea that I've had for a while, and maybe because I was down in the dumps, decided it was time to give it a shot. But this is the home of a wizard who is also a cowboy. This could be somewhat inspired by the fact that I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2 a little bit. Also, am not unfamiliar with Red Dead Redemption 1 back in, I believe, the PlayStation 3 days, I want to say. Hopefully, I'm correct in saying that. If there are any watchers out there who are also Red Dead Redemption players, let me know. I do like the game for the sense of its storytelling. Not like big as far as like a violence person myself, but I think it's kind of hard to tell a story of the Old West without there being some gunslinging. So I appreciate that. But anyway, let's talk about what's going on here on the screen right now. Here is the beginnings of the Cowboy Wizard's house. I didn't really have a plan as far as how I wanted it to look. I sort of did some like aesthetic Googling to see if this was a thing that existed, and I found like some Dungeons and Dragons campaigns that are sort of similar, where it's like, wizards with guns. And I think it's like sort of like a steampunky kind of thing. I am not a D&D player myself, although I would not be surprised if I became one at some point in the semi-near future. Anyway, so we're going in now, putting in a rounded roof on the structure here. That's one thing I knew I wanted to have, was at least some rounded walls. And I also wanted to go for a vibe that the house itself is held up by magic. Which you can kind of see in that little like square tower I put off to what would be your right-hand side on the right, with the corbel support beams underneath it. So it's, I guess, a little bit Burrow-esque, like from the Harry Potter series, which I have mixed feelings referencing, since we know that the author has revealed herself to be transphobic. But either way, that is not the sole owner of this sort of structure. But that is what, unfortunately, my brain went to. And maybe it's not unfortunate, but regardless, here we are. We're sort of playing with the roof right now, because I knew I wanted it to be kind of funky and tall, and for it to have like an interesting shape. So generally what I do is I start out with a shape first, and then if there's any details that pop up that I think will work, I go ahead and put those in as they come to me. Sometimes I just kind of dig around through the wall decorations to see what I can find. In this case, it was that little overhang piece above that round window, which is from, I want to say Cottage Living. It's either Cottage Living or I almost said Windenburg. You guys know. Get together. And I think there's a little bit of footage here that I ended up not losing necessarily. The footage was there, but I had a game crash that occurred while I was working on this. And I think MCC Command Center maybe, and also the tool mod still have to be updated for the latest update that came out, the one for the anniversary that came out for Lil Simsies pack and for the Bella Goth pack, which looks super cool. I might have to get that one, and maybe Simsies as well, since I do follow her moderately closely. I used to watch her streams almost every day, and then life got a little busy. But if for some reason she does pop by, I want her to know that I love her and I am still a fan. Sorry, I lost my train of thought, which is kind of a fun reference, because you'll see that I, not planned, did some fun train-related things with this build, which was pretty neat. Here we go. This is where I was trying to figure out what was going to happen with the bottom floor. I decided that the bottom floor, like half of it, belongs to the wizard's horse. Her name is Tempest. She is a gray Clydesdale, and she has a star on her forehead and like a moon and some stars on her left flank. And he is her familiar, and he adores her and holds her very close. His name is Torrence Tumbleweed. So far, I don't think I've put any of the Sims that I've made for these houses on the gallery. If you guys would like me to, I certainly can. Feel free to drop a comment down below. Let me know. Here we're going in, and this is where I sort of decided that I wanted cow skulls to be a thing, because I make a lot of witch and wizard builds, but this one is specifically Western and like cowboy inspired. And thankfully, now that I have the horse ranch pack, which is part of why I put off doing this, but they had the sale around Christmas, I decided I was going to give it a shot. So we've got horses now, because that was the thing. It was like I could have made a cowboy wizard house, but it didn't feel right if I didn't have a horse. But now we have one. So we've got a great big cow skull above this section, and there's a smaller one above like the front door. I think headcanon-wise, I'm going to say that the large cow either existed through magic, or I think maybe they're actually cowplant skulls based on the item description in Build By. Maybe it was a large cow plant that Torrence, the wizard that lives here, made or grew, and then it passed away, and this was his way of memorializing it. Kind of like, this could be a little morbid, but not too long after my sweet girl passed away, I saw there's this lady on Instagram. I don't follow her, but I've seen her stuff. She goes by Pot Roast Mom because she had a cat named Pot Roast, and Pot Roast died. And Pot Roast, the owner had Pot Roast skeleton preserved and kept it. Personally, that's not for me, but maybe this wizard has like a similar vibe with his cow plants. If any of my viewers have also lost an animal, not that I'm familiar with it, but if you happen to have any coping mechanisms or things that have helped you, feel free to drop them below, because I am on a journey, and it has not been easy, it has not been fun, but I've been trying my best. Here we are going in. We were working on Tempest's pen, and I had a hard time deciding on what kind of gate to use. I knew I didn't want it to be square, that is the pen itself, but I did figure out that I wanted to use this gate from Horse Ranch. You saw me play around with like that windmill support item that comes with Horse Ranch for a little bit. I do end up using it. I didn't know that the Horse Ranch windmill is not attached to the stand. It is a separate item. But I figured that out myself, which is good. And then we're doing a little landscaping here, and I think this is about the place. I did a little bit of interior, so maybe I'm a little too early. But at some point not too long after this is where my game crashed. And so some of the landscaping you'll see later is not quite the same. And I think some of the shape of the upper floor is a little different. It's pretty close, but it's not quite the same. Yeah, here we go, because I'm putting in the cauldron upstairs in that rounded bit, which admittedly I've done quite a bit. It seems like I always make a rounded room with a cauldron, but I like it. It brings me joy. And then we're doing the stack of cauldrons here that I like to do in all of my spellcaster builds. I'm sorry. I'm like reliving the trauma of the game crashing now as I watch because I know it's about to happen. You guys won't see it because I'm pretty sure I edited that out. But it did occur. It was not fun. Did not like it. We're putting in a chandelier here above the cauldron and the fun wardrobe object with the mirror on the door from Horse Ranch. A lot of the Horse Ranch furniture is very nice. Just because, of course, I think it works for Horse Ranch and that aesthetic, but I think it's good if you want to have things that seem like heirloom pieces in your Sims homes. And I have been longing for this kitchen set for a while, and now I have it. Not that I've not made the best use of other kitchen sets we have, but I think I have used the heck out of the one from Realm of Magic, almost to the point of lunacy. But it's a very pretty kitchen set. But this one is also really good because it's similar to the one from Country Kitchen and Cottage Living, but it's a little more rustic, and I think it would be good if you wanted to do like a more medieval style build or like a true sort of like century build, like something like 1900s-esque. I think it would be very good for. Now we're going into the kitchen. I think this is after the game crashed and I was able to get the game back up and running. I restored the save. I disabled mods. I think I took MC Command Center out completely, which almost has to be true because I remember when I went to film the cinematics for this that I had a hard time because MC Command Center is what I use to set the time of day where I want. So instead I just had to like have my sim do some things and speed up time until I got to the right time of day. Which was afternoon in this case. It was the best lighting for the lot. But we're going into the kitchen here, and you might have saw I wanted this window to be centered. So I did the counter in the center of the window, and then to offset the counters, I used the towel stand objects from Horse Ranch and turned them backwards. Now here is where I got really inspired because I found the train debug object and I decided how cool would it be if this wizard had this old train on the roof and it was like the smokestack of the house and he uses it to sort of generate heat and steam for the house. And I think it turned out really cool. I took some of the bubbler pool objects and put them like up inside the smokestack so it's got bubbles coming out. I think smoke is supposed to come out of the chimneys too, but I couldn't get it to work. I don't know if you have to light the fire inside the house for that to happen. I could probably just Google it and figure out pretty quickly. But regardless, there's no fire lit in the cinematics that I've filmed. I still have to go make end of video cinematics after I finish this voiceover. So I might go in and see if I light the fire in the house, if that will activate the steam, the smoke coming from the chimney. I think it should still look fine with the bubbles because I really like the bubbles, but we'll see. Here's where you see I'm fighting with trying to maybe put the bed in the bedroom on a diagonal, and then I decided against it because I couldn't really make a bump out on this room and have it still line up well with the rounded walls. And then I ran into some trouble later because it turns out I put down 2 beds right on top of each other and did not realize. Because when I went to play test a little bit, the wizard, he couldn't get into his bed and I couldn't figure out why. I thought maybe it was the chandelier above, which didn't make a ton of sense to me. I found out it was not, but I was really worried that it was because I wanted the chandelier in there. And then you can see that I put another cow skull above the wardrobe object here. Or I guess above isn't the right word, on top of would make more sense. Then we put the little owl guy in here on a side table from Horse Ranch. I have a feeling I'm going to start using the Horse Ranch stuff a lot, especially if I put up my Dorothy Gale homestead build that I have, because I might go and touch it up a little now that we have the the horse ranch objects. And I remember I touched it up once before. I've never filmed it and did not film the building of it. But when Cottage Living came out, I had a lot of fun adding debug objects to it. So maybe I'll put that up. It would be more of a build tour because I don't really know if I want to rebuild it. Although there are some things I did with it that didn't quite make sense that maybe I could try to fix. But I did a lot of custom placing of objects like I usually do. So trying to edit the existing house feels very daunting to me. Anyway, back to the build. So here we are, putting in a bit of decoration on the walls. Per the usual, there are a lot of gallery walls in this house because I like them and they make me happy. Maybe eventually I'll do like a not so maximalist leaning sort of house, but so far that has not occurred. The good thing about all of the Sims building is that it usually brings a little inspiration to things I want to do in my own home, which I have been doing a little more in the past few months to try to keep my spirits up. I've got some wallpaper that'll be going up in my bathroom soon from Wall Blush, if anyone is familiar. They're a good small business in Arizona, and there's a lady on Instagram that talks them up. So I've ordered from them twice and decided that I deserved a little something nice, even though I do rent. So I've got some peel and stick wallpaper that I'm hoping to put up maybe tomorrow or Sunday. I'm recording this on a Friday. Okay, here is where we're trying to figure out how the kitchen is going to work. It's a pretty similar layout to the one in the Merle Ambrose house that I did most recently, where it's got, you know, the sink and the stove that are flanked by counters and then a central table. This house does not have an actual dining table for the Sim to eat at, but there is a desk that we'll put in later, and they can certainly eat on the sofa. And as a lot of you probably know, Sims sometimes don't want to eat at the dining table anyway, so it's not like it's really all that out of the ordinary. You can see I put the big cookbook that I think's from Cottage Living on the end of the table, and eventually once I put the wizard in and started doing some play testing, he picked it up, and since I sized the book up, it was really funny to see him holding this super big book. I think this is post-crash. It could be pre-crash. I'm trying to remember. I think this is pre-crash because I don't think I had this chair with the stool in it. Yeah, it's definitely pre-crash because when I was working on the kitchen, forgot about that whole room, the little square tower on the side of the house that is off the kitchen. And so I eventually had to redo it to put in a door there. But luckily, this was all filmed, so you can see that when it's done, and there might be footage of me doing it a second time. I don't think so, because I made a conscious effort to not re-record things that I had already done and just use it as a reference for myself. But I did use the werewolf shelves for that sort of rustic cobbled together look, and did a thing that I do moderately often when I make these rounded cauldron rooms, and that I put shelves on the windowsill area and then filled it up with the dead space squid object that I think is base game, books, bottles, crystals. Oh, you know what? I did not end up actually keeping the radiator in this room when I did it the second time, now that I think about it. I did keep this, though. This is a cactus. What a word. Cactus. A cactus from Debug for either Horse Ranch or Strangerville that I put inside a growing pot. Then we hung some garlic here that I think I ended up getting rid of. I don't recall there being garlic later post-crash because I had to do a lot of this a second time. Pretty much every room upstairs, with the exception of the kitchen, ended up having to be redone. But the train stayed, so that's good, but I put the train up pretty early. I must have saved not too long after I put it up on the roof. And the gallery wall that's above The staircase, I think, changes pretty drastically. I do end up still keeping that china cabinet object you just saw, but it gets moved to accommodate for the door that ends up being right where that nectar rack is that currently has the bowl of golden fruit on it. The nectar rack and the bowl of golden fruit do not stay, unfortunately. But I still had fun cluttering up this china cabinet in this area, even though I ended up changing it. I still think it worked out pretty well. And the version that'll go up on the gallery, I think, will still have the correct vibes. And you can always change things around if you would like. Here we go. We're sort of getting the layout for the spellcasting brewing area. You can see that this is where I started putting a lot of pipes and whatnot on the wall because I decided this build ended up being a little steampunky. There's lots of pipes jetting out of the house, and my theory is they all like run through the walls up to the train, which is sort of like the power source furnace of the house that might have a spell or a hex on it or something of that nature that brings heat and power to the home. Even though I did make a pretty conscious effort to use a lot of like candles and like flame lighting, which is what I think I usually tend to do in a lot of my fantasy builds, which is kind of all of them, if we're being honest. Early on, maybe not so much. And if you've watched some of the older videos, God bless you. If you believe in God. If not, put in a different deity or a force of the universe that you do believe in, because they were rough. And I acknowledge they were a little rough, but I am trying now as sort of like a self-care effort, and I was doing this last year too, but in 2025 I'm trying to leave perfectionism behind and acknowledge that sometimes art can be made and it cannot be the best, but that doesn't mean that it didn't bring you joy to do it. Maybe that's a little hippy-dippy of me, but oh well. Here we are. We're going into Tempest's area. I ended up putting the wall decal paint object from Horse Ranch up, and then I put some stars on the wall. This is version 1 of the stars, actually. Before I put it up, I might try to make it look more like this, because I think it's a little prettier to look at. I couldn't quite remember how I had laid out the stars the first time before the game crashed, and I had to redo some of it. But the stars are still there, because I thought they were fun, and there's stars that hang above the wizard's bed, too. And then I went in and I set most of the corners off with the Horse Ranch square columns, which might be the same or maybe pretty close to the columns we got with werewolves. I think the werewolves ones might not be as thick. I'll have to take a closer look. Here we're putting a weather vane on top of the train. The train ends up getting like a lot of bits and pieces later that I think really added some character and sort of gave that steampunk feel to the house. The pipes certainly helped too. And I think I went in and like made some of the pipes a more rose gold color, because there's not like a copper tone, unless that's what is meant to be copper. It's kind of like it's black, white, gray, green, and yellow, which didn't seem quite right. Yellow felt more industrial and like science-y to me. Would definitely be good for like a Strangerville-esque build, but not so much for this, I don't think. And he's got a cowhide chair, which is nice. Sort of doing a stream of consciousness narration here. We're putting in some aprons in the kitchen, and this is where I realized, hey, there's a whole room over here that we've forgotten about. So I'm going in and remembering to put the door in. The bookcase door is short-lived. I ended up putting a real door there because I decided it's not really secret. And I feel like if I was going to put in a bookcase door, the one from the new Bella Goth kit that I don't have yet would be better. It's prettier to look at and also looks more convincing as like an actual bookshelf. If you look at the bookcase door we have now, it's pretty clear that it's a door. You can certainly set it off with other bookcases to hide it a little bit, but you can only do so much. Here's where I tried to do the thing that I usually like to do, where I put in spandrels across the room so it looks like we have beaming throughout the house. But because of the second floor and the rounded roof, every time I did that, the roof would come back. And it got very, very frustrating, so I decided that we would just do beamwork downstairs and not upstairs. Here we are in the top of the tower, though. I decided this is his greenhouse room where he keeps a lot of his plants, and the views out the window are actually very pretty. I might get some post voiceover closing cinematic footage of looking out of those windows for you guys, because it ended up being pretty pretty. Pretty, very pretty. Pleasing to the eye. Chestnut Ridge is really a nice world. I'm glad that I went ahead and got the pack finally. Here we're going in and we're putting in some of the water wheel objects from cottage living that a lot of people like to use for gears. And since I started leaning more steampunk here, I decided to do the same. I also did this in my wizard bar build a while back, which looking back at, I realized that I think like the film quality was not so great. I think because I had left the computer running overnight or had like a few too many programs open. Anyway, now we are going in, and you can see me playtesting the wheels, putting them in to see if they like have the desired effect. It's kind of funny to watch it now while I playtest because it's going to be really fast since we're still in time-lapse mode. You can also see, you may have noticed if any of you are also builders, that because we're using the tool mod and it might not have been updated yet, it's doing this really weird thing where like the UI for it is semi-transparent, which is a little difficult to deal with. But we're done with the train for now. I do go back and put a few more quote-unquote gears on it. We're in the office area now. I ended up putting the mother plant spore from Strangerville on the desk, and then I ended up putting the clothing rack from Horse Ranch and the clothes. It's so cool that we got clothes to set into the rack with Horse Ranch. I think the only other that has that is... there are like existing clothing racks, but like the clothes to slot into the racks, I think there's only from maybe Get Famous and Dream Home Decorator, which I don't have yet. I should probably get that one pretty soon, just because I like a lot of the modular stuff. Now we're just kind of going in and cluttering with Cottage Living debug. There's a little bit of Horse Ranch debug outside, but I ended up putting in the bags of like feed or seed up against the hay bales. You can see I'm putting in more pipes and filling in spots on the wall that drew my eye. Because a lot of the walls are so full, I tried not to leave as many gaps. Here you can see version 2 of the living room going into effect here, where I did the covered chair and a rocking chair from Horse Ranch. Tried to lean into the cowboy aesthetic with like those more... Tribal doesn't seem like the right word, and neither does Aztec, but I think you guys know the vibe that I'm talking about with like the blanket and the rug that's down on the floor in the living room. Then we went in and put some vampire's thorns on the wall. I think this drain pipe maybe stayed, and then I had to adjust this corbel here because I had to uninstall and reinstall tool. This is after it got reinstalled. And then we're putting in some pipes and stuff in the bathroom, making some adjustments to the train, and putting in some gears in the bathroom as well. I think I did 2 gears in the bathroom. One of the gears, I think the thicker one, the one that has like the water stains and like the greening of the wood on it, sizes down a little better for this. The other ones I think you had to put in like more custom with the tool mod to get them of different sizes. And then, true to form, we're putting the Spectre Sip Chalice inside the cauldron and some of the bugs from Outdoor Retreat so it can have that sparkly effect in live mode. And then I also put in the Ambrosia Treats from Pets and sized them down because they sparkle. So your cauldron, whether it has food in it or not, can always look magical this way. It is a little... weird since it's like static and it's like just a swirl, and I think the bubbles, I might have used the wrong bubbler because there ends up being steam that sort of eats through the roof unfortunately, but maybe I'll get rid of it, maybe I won't, we'll see. Still got to play test the cauldron, make sure it works, and then see what other things I can do. The landscaping here is not as lush as sometimes I make it with these builds, which I think is good. I think that this wizard certainly has a green thumb, but I think he's too busy with his brews and horse care and, foraging. I think he does a lot of things, and I think it keeps him busy, and that he uses the plants around the home for his craft and not so much the aesthetics of them. Although I did use a fair amount of the werewolf, what are they called? Like the dresser drawer planters. I think they're good for this style of house. And then I did use the frame TV that we got with the holiday event. And then, of course, we have the birthday event coming up, too, that I'm going to try to log in and get this stuff for. The frame TV, I think, works here because I wanted to have a TV, because I think I want to acknowledge that maybe this is modern times, quote unquote, but that he leans more old-timey. I ended up using this quilt stand object that I thought was from Horse Ranch, but I actually think it's from that recent update we got with like is it Polish? The like Eastern Europeans, like winter holiday clothes that came with the holiday update, the one that brought the hot chocolate tray with it. You guys know what I'm talking about, surely. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you're not a simmer at all, and you just like watching builds. I had a friend of mine say that her partner actually watches while he works because this is good co-working stuff for him, which is awesome. If you guys need something to watch in the background, I've got, it's pretty much the norm now, about 30 minutes of content for you guys to have while you work, while you write, while you do whatever it is that you do during the day. I too have a work from home day job, and sometimes I turn on my own videos or other people's videos in the background for noise and to feel like I'm accomplishing something along with someone. It's also nice if you have like a more administrative corporate America type job to have like a creative something going on nearby, because then it feels, I think, a little less daunting. Anyway, we're going in and decorating the roof now. There's this really cool metal horse sculpture that came with Horse Ranch, and I really wanted to use it. I just couldn't get it to look right. Then you can see I tried to put like wagon wheels on the roof instead to accommodate. That didn't work. And here is where I decided that the windmill is also going to have gears on it. So it's kind of like the windmill and the train on the roof work in tandem to bring this wizard what he needs. This, I think, is for his water. And I ended up eventually putting in an old well with a cowplant inside of it. The well is from Debug, so I think you can still access the cowplant. I hope so. It would be a bummer if it died, but I mean, if the skulls that are around are any indication, maybe the cowplants unfortunately pass away on dear old Torrence moderately often. Who knows? We're putting in a couple of wind chimes here, and then eventually I find I wanted it and it doesn't move, and I don't know why. I thought it was Horse Ranch, but it's actually from Strangerville. It's like that oil pump rig that's from Strangerville, and I put it on the roof. I wanted to put it with the windmill here, and you can see I'm testing to make sure that it looks cool with the wheels spinning. Of course it does, but I don't know. I kind of like to see it moving around. I ended up putting some frogs throughout the house here. We're really just kind of doing final cluttering up, and there might be like a little bit of landscaping that happens because I put in the plasma tree from vampires, and then some other like magical occult type plant in the back. Because I remember I thought about the crystal tree, which you saw, and I didn't do it because I felt like it was too tall and it blocked off the Patchy the Scarecrow that I put in the yard. Either way, we're coming close to the end, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play out. We're going to go into ending cinematics and screenshots. Thanks for watching this one. Yeehaw to you all. And I appreciate you. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.